To be quite honest, love your analysis. It's amazing. I love Scream on the stage, but he dropped the 30 bomb against Party Parrots on the breach. And so I think that they really need the breach right now. And considering, you know, what Mitch was saying, how he's kind of leading the team, he's telling them when to peek, he's telling them when they're going to push forward. The only person that can really do that effectively is Breach, because he flashes for them and he sets them up to swing. And so having a look, it does look like he's back on the Breach. And so going to help his team try to find those early picks with those rotations. They are on attack. Tom hit the nail on the head there. That was some of the best ascent that we've seen out of SFISH123, especially when they were on the attack. Let's see how they do, or if Nip will be able to answer back for it with some of these early pushes.
Here goes the pistol in map number 3. NIP and SFISH123 fighting for their opportunity to play in that grand finals tomorrow. We'll be waiting for a later series to see who they would be facing off against. It's G2 and Need More DM, a team that surprised people making it through from the group stages. Hip as the Reyna, leaping over that wall back in spawn off the well, trying to spot out positions. Does eventually see Link as the Sage working their way up. So they're going to be moving in towards the market, and the door's already been taken out, destroyed, as the pistols unleash a fury of bullets towards that direction. But as they take out that door, they start to fall back. So you start seeing them put more presence on Catwalk, which is kind of empty territory right now for the defense.
It is, of course, I don't want to say just the pistol, but it really can go either way, just depending on who lands their shots and how they end up landing them. A couple of classics, as we see one in the hands of Lucker Kriya. Might make this push towards the A site not work out in the favor of SFISH123. Still going to commit to it, though, as they'll now walk through the door, and Fearoth on the opposite side going to see how far they end up getting. Looks like Spike will end up getting planted, and it's the jump down from Lucker. Not really sure what he was looking to do there. Does not. Oh, he does end up there with the frag. Scream able to answer back, but at this point, it may be too little too late. It's just down to Eccles. Fearoth will just, at point blank range, take him out with the shock dart. That's round number 1 here for NIP.
Chat right now going nuts with the copy pastas. More copy pastas than if Kinko's opened an Italian restaurant, as they just go nuts spamming them all day long. There's a variety of copy pastas too. It's actually quite fun. Waiting, I know eventually the mods are going to strike. We're going to hit emote only mode. Yesterday you guys were bad. Behave. NIP, they win the pistol. Are they going to be able to find the follow-up? Because we've seen at times the second round on this map quite difficult for a lot of teams to convert on, as we'll see the force come in from the attack frequently when they get that spike plant, and that's what we have. So we have the spike plant come in from SFISH123, and they decide to force off the back of it. Screams on the SMG, leading in towards the B site as the breach. So he has that flash again, that initiate power. You've got the one-way cyber cage there from Rhyme, with a standard cyber cage as well. Now he's still got a tripwire to fall back on, but the push has not yet come through because it's not going to. It's actually going to be a play over towards that A site where we've got 2 yet again. Lucker getting into a better position. Kriya is here as well, now going back behind the generator. Everyone grouping up on long A, or at least it seems. There's 2 back in spawn. It's the Cypher and the Breach that's Scream and Cryptics. Scream's going to be the solo cat player.
Fearoth sending an owl drone to spot out any of those pushes towards Catwalk. It is just Scream covering the backside of the push coming in from SFISH123, as they'll now start to set up down long, and the slow orb will likely stop them. Lucker now having to crouch behind the box. They will funnel in one at a time. Spray's good from Kriya, but he's down to 20 already. Lucker has fallen to the wayside. They will swing together. It's the force up here for SFISH123, so they really have the weaponry to make this a difficult round for NIP, but as the clock ticks down, they will get that spike planted. A wall right outside the door. I like it, making it even more difficult to push through. Lots of ammo wasted here, trying to get that wall down. And still, it is the 3v4. Can get the job done, but the Stinger from range can't really do a whole lot. They need to get on the site, and this one way is making it very difficult. Recon Bolt going to spot him out, and Hip just uses the Leer. Unfortunately, falls there in the process. Ahsokas gets the job done, and now Fearoth switching quickly over to the Spectre, having to reload the clip. Recon Bolt going to likely come out, but it's Scream off to the side. That'll win the round here for Fish123 in a round that they brought themselves to the table. They forced up, they bought the weaponry, and they made NIP really throw for a loop there.
Solid play coming in from Fish123, exactly what we talked about coming into the round. Those force buys on this map in specific can be very difficult to deal with. Fish123 plays it beautifully. They get onto that A site and they prevent the defense from being able to retake, so we will see a full save come out from NIP. They're not going to fire back with a force buy. We've seen that at times where it's like force trading back and forth until eventually somebody wins 2 in a row. Not going to happen here. Instead, they're just going to 5-man stack the B site where there is a tripwire down. So if they decide to push any further forwards, they'll shoot that tripwire and that'll tip off Cryptics as to what's happening. Instead, right now, they've got a Phalanx built. So they've got the entire defense building a wall of pistols inside B main. But Fish123 isn't really sure what to expect. So they're playing this one slow, trying to figure out the positioning. Once they get onto the site, they'll realize it's free and clear. So you can see Scream's already going back to grab the spike. Hopefully they don't make the mistake of going back towards B, because right now they're pretty content to just chill inside B main. Now they're starting to get a little antsy. The Sova has now started to peel off, and the rest of the team is starting to go in a similar direction. The Omen smoke going over towards Catwalk, but a counter smoke coming out from Eccles to make sure that no one can pick them off from spawn makes them wonder if they are going to be moving over towards this B site. But again, in reality, A site is the point of contention, and the site's free and clear.
For the side of NIP, sometimes those work, but to be quite honest, in our experience, I very rarely see them actually work. Maybe it happens in the qualifiers and matches that don't really get to be streamed as often, but in high professional play, nobody really falls for those, or they at least flush them out with utility to make sure that they can push safely. So we are seeing now the push in from the Catwalk. So far, it has not been a fruitful kill for the side of NIP, but the Leer will make it fruitful for them as they will take out Cryptics, but it's the rest of the team that have a firing squad of their own, and they'll take out most of the NIP roster. Just down to Fearoth now. He's got 5 HP, and so a sneeze will take him out now at this point, but fortunately for Fish123, I don't think any of the members are sick enough to have a sneeze ready. Instead, they'll just take him out with a good old classic Spectre. It's another round on the board here for Fish123. And now NIP, I kind of wonder where their economy is. Scoreboard, of course, when that pops up, will give us the information that we need in regards to that. And it is looking like they have finally the credits to spare. Lucker on a deep investment operator, no armor, and likely not all utility either. So we'll see if this pays off. And if it doesn't, Fish123 are going to start really laying on some rounds.
Yeah, NIP had rough money here. So you can see even Rhymes on light armor, not full armor. Again, you mentioned it, wondering what Lucker can afford in addition to that op, because it is pretty expensive to play as the Sage. With the nerf that increased the cost of the wall, it's made it a little bit more difficult to fully flesh out that Sage kit. Scream's going to grab the orb control over in B, and they don't do anything to stop it. So he'll get one more point towards the Rolling Thunder. Right now we do have the ult as well available for Omen for the attack. Lucker has one right around the corner. Can't time the shot. Peeks a little bit too shallow. Hits the wall. So Eccles going to dodge a bullet and manage to escape back around the other edge of Catwalk as Lucker has to back off with the op. A minute left on the clock, and again, the spike looks like it's going to be moving towards A.
Well, Fish123 have they've been hitting A quite a lot, and we've seen this before from a team. And when you hit A consistently and the opposition can't deal with it, you really have to ask yourself, what is going on? What is happening that we can't hold this site? Already 2 frags down. They win on the push. The flash is great from Scream, and now Kriya. Will we see some of those plays where he finds himself in a position to be behind enemy lines? So far, not going to be the case, but he still ends up with a frag, which is good for him. And now those odds will start to dwindle down to an even match. It's the 3v3 retake, but the wall will stop them dead in their tracks. The prediction spray down below will not find anybody, as no one's there, at least not anymore. Cryptics in a great position, but the Leer's about to come through. Headshot's good as he'll stop their push dead in their tracks, and they'll just follow him in one at a time. A great crossfire set up by the attack. and it's another round on the board. NIP likely not going to have the economy moving forward in the round ahead. And so SFISH123 are starting the same dominant fashion, or starting rather in the same dominant fashion as maps previous.
Retaking sites on this map really sucks for the defense. There's so many positions to clear out on the A site, and the B site is just choke point city. You've also got the capability to spam the wall over towards the door switch, so it's just not ideal. And if you continue to lose site control, you're going to continue to bleed rounds because it is just oh so hard to get back in. The Marshal picked up here by Korea. Fearoth with just a pistol. SFISH123 have NIP yet again in a position with limited money. But we talked about it in the last game. That 5th round is usually that critical round. And even though it's a little bit different here because the team that won the pistol lost the 2nd round, so it delays that 5th round one more. We'll see that strong buy come in the round that follows. That means they'll have the operator and they'll have the utility to back it up. So Korea goes for the early peek, punished by Solkus, who was watching for the orb. And now it's NIP who have a man disadvantage. SFISH123 also the ability to control that long orb if they decide to go for it. Lucker is right around the corner. With the scope peering towards that position, it is only a Marshal. So 101 to the body if they decide to peek. Going to need to find the headshots. Here goes the first peek, and yikes. There's the shot to the chest through the wall. But Eccles is there with the immediate punish.
Listen, I just don't feel like you missed those. I feel like you at least get one there if you're Lucker. Hip, he's feeling himself. Great shot with the Sheriff, cannot convert into any more. And that operator, of course, no longer in play. Was that the operator for Lucker? That was, right? Like he had, or was that a Marshal? I think that was the operator for Lucker. And if that's the case, you at least get one there.
It was a Marshal. It was a Marshal.
Okay, never mind. Okay,
yeah, Korea bought a Marshal and he picked it up, I think, off Korea. So
yeah, okay, never mind. If that was an operator, you get that kill, no matter what. You don't allow Eccles to peek like that. But Marshal, okay, now I understand. But now the operator is in play. NIP finally have some credits that they can work with. Lucker still trying to keep that operator dream alive, and so far it hasn't really worked out. You know, we talk about Ascent being a defender-sided map. Well, SFISH123, they're having a good attacker side, and it seems to be just the difference in playstyle. You know, they find these open picks. But look at this. It's the same thing that they were doing against the Party Parrots. It's the fake towards A, lot of utility used, 3 members committed from NIP. But on the opposite side, you have SFISH123 gathering information, or at the bare minimum, setting up a potential denial of a flank from the defense. But quite honestly, I don't even think NIP feel comfortable enough right now to try to flank, considering the state of how the rounds have been going. So far, SFISH123 just gathering information. They have plenty of time left on the clock, and they are looking to recommit potentially towards this B push.
that twin bounce shock dart we've seen before lands right there on the arches. So if you're holding that line of sight, which we just saw from the Sage, it's going to nail you. So Lucker lost his armor without even seeing anybody. Goes for the peek. He's like, I don't really need armor. It's all good. Solkus taking out the player that did that initial damage. The Omen, who was in the corner, sends the Paranoia into sight. But again, they're moving in towards B. There's a cyber cage down, but the flash potentially going to come through. It's actually the ult, the Rolling Thunder. Hip pops his ult instead. It's Empress. From long range, that increased fire rate might be a problem. Goes for the dismiss after initially losing that fight and having to escape. Lucker arriving with the operator, and now it's down to just 2. They've managed to get towards the site, but not on it. And the last remaining member is across the map. Far away from the play is Eccles. So the push towards B does not work out well, does not produce success for SFISH123. And like we said, that first full, strong buy round coming in here round 6 instead of round 5 from NIP works out nicely for them.
They needed that round. You know, in previous maps, SFISH123, once they get rolling, they don't intend to stop ever. This time around, NIP are able to falter some of that economy early and keep things a little bit more competitive. And for them, that's crucial. That's important. It was a great hold on that B side, and you see now SFISH123 A worked out a lot better. Let's just keep going A. Let's just keep doing it. Let's just keep up the great work that we've been putting forward on towards this A site. We've got a great flash system set up. Scream sets us up. He sets the flash forward. We just all peek together. Paranoia to follow up. Double flash. They can't do anything. We find a pick. Get that spike down. And the defense struggle to retake. Firoth gathering a little bit of information earlier on. Sees 2. Which means the defense can at least call some utility to stop them from pushing forward. Dark cover will be one of those pieces. Lucker having a look from the catwalk towards the courtyard and does not spot anyone quite yet. But now that the rotations are starting to come through, Lucker might be expecting someone to come forward soon. The slow walk will not give the tell away or the audio cue, but Lucker still about to see Scream. Will take him out. Still one more on the opposite side. Misses the flick, and the slow orb will delay them ever so slightly. Wall as well, trying to get boosted up. Still looking who's down below, but it's Eccles that'll take him out and the res, so the trade goes horribly here for NIP.
Nice Hunter's Fury coming out from Firoth. Dropping Link, that's the Sage taken out of play. And that's actually kind of a problem. All of that extra utility and support now gone. NIP also playing without their Sage. They lost the res. Hip is going to toss the flash right on through, and they're going to be trying to take this B site where you've got Rhyme pushed up in B main inside the cyber cages. Look at the time left on the clock, though. They're taking forever to get on this site. All he has to do is stop the spike plant, pulls them off of it for the moment, but couldn't actually take out the planter. So the site now will be lost, and the spike will be planted. Scream doing Scream things, locking down this close corner, flashed out, but moves into the market. Great move from Scream, but eventually taken out by Kriya. Hip also chimes in with one of his own, and it's all up to Solkas as the Sova. Recon Dart gets taken down. Spam coming through the wall, not necessarily connecting where it needs to. Solkas still has the Owl drone, but in a 1v2, can't really go for it. Goes for the peak, spotted out on the backside of sight. Nice swing there onto Hip, and now it's down to the 1v1. He's 27 HP, but he's back in the U-Haul, and there's one trying to work towards him. Can't quite win the duel with Kriya. 15 HP, but he survives, and he will have time for the spike defusal as NIP get back onto the site.
You know, at the end of the day, Solkas almost stalled for long enough to make it worth his team's while, but NIP keeping it close, 3-4, the scoreline, of course, and we are past the halfway point of the first half. NIP starting to lay on rounds now that the gun rounds are coming through. Double op now in play, and we'll see how that makes a difference. It's often made a big difference on Ascent. A lot of long sight lines that can really not go your way. And we'll see where Firoth ends up setting up. Lucker has been consistently looking towards that courtyard. And Firoth, I don't actually think plays towards some of those aggressive peaks early. I think he's just going to hold the site B, going to be his choice here as he'll set things up for himself. Maybe a recon arrow going to be coming through. Doesn't spot anyone in the fish market. And now the rest of the offense, however, will be prepared for their lurks towards the A site. So just gathering information for now. SFISH123 like to play it slow, like to take their time with it. Spike is in nobody's hands back near the pathway towards B. So far, it's just going to be SFISH123 looking for information and trying to get a pick early so they can make a decision.
It looks like they're going to be moving back in spawn to reposition themselves towards B. There's only one player on the B site currently. It's Hip, playing solo defense as the Reyna. Not exactly the greatest defensive hero in the current rotation. As an agent, definitely difficult. So there's going to be some support, coming in from the Omen. There's the push attempt onto the site. The Recon Dart gets taken down. Lear coming out to try and slow them down from taking lane control, but they've already moved up pretty far. Recon Dart goes down, but does get destroyed almost instantaneously. The Owl drone goes over top of the wall, but doesn't really result in much. As the kills go back and forth, it's SFISH123 who have gained control of the site, and again, it's Scream going into that comfortable position at the top of the stairs after getting a few on the take. It's down to now 2, and they realize there's nothing we can do. That last round was too expensive for us. We have to save. So Rhyme and the Sage, they're backing off of the play. Him and Lucker have too much equipment to bring into the next round. You've got that Operator, and you've got the Phantom, and with the cash left in their pockets, they can also help flesh out a buy for anyone who's a little bit low on money, more specifically looking at Kriya and Firoth. So the round will go the way of SFISH123.
Yeah, 1,900 credits going to be entering into their pockets in the round to follow. And for the side of SFISH123, their economy will continue to balloon up. And as we near the end of this half, every round becomes a little bit more impactful round after round when it comes to the economy. And so for SFISH123 to have a soft cushion that they can land on in case they lose a couple more rounds in the remaining 4, it's great for them. They want to get as many rounds as possible on a half that they feel a little bit more comfortable on. Once we get to the defense side, though, I'm really going to be looking at both teams to see what level of comfort they feel on the side that they're on, right? So for SFISH123 going over to defense, how comfortable are they holding off against the craziness that is NIP? And vice versa. Are NIP able to push in a team that will spend utility to stop you from pushing forward at all costs possible? So we'll see once we get to that point. So far, it is SFISH123 with their standard opener. I wonder if some VOD review will give you the information that they're constantly looking towards that A site. Like, how many times have we seen SFISH123 poised towards B? I feel like if you have somebody from Fruit looking towards Cat, you could probably get a pick or two every single round. But at the end of the day, that is for the teams to VOD review and for us to cast it.
I like that move from Eccles there, baiting out that port past the orb, just kind of keeping them glued towards long a little bit, and then repositions to go up on Catwalk. Lucker is here with the op. There's the dark cover coming in. Eccles not necessarily as aggressive with the porting as we saw from Kriya at times, but definitely feels comfortable doing it. Lucker, though, has a line of sight through that smoke and able to pick off Eccles. Barely survives with 10 HP. Meanwhile, the door gets destroyed. There's the Rolling Thunder coming out as they try to make their way onto the site. Rhyme got dinked and flushed back into that site. And Hip not able to really help much as he was hit by the ult. Scream gonna pick off Lucker. That's the operator taken out of play. The leer through doesn't really work well at all, and Rhymes dropped on the site as well. So site control again for SFISH123, and the spike planted yet again as they gain access to that B site. Hip is already up pretty far, has to watch out for pulses of recon darts, giving away his position. That wall also spammable. Link waiting around the corner, greets him with open arms. Again, that dart gonna give away the position of Fearoth. You could hear the bullets actually starting to pour through the wall. Escapes back in towards spawn. Aldrone to give him some intel. Knows there's 2 pushing up on the stairs, but doesn't anticipate this 3rd peek coming out from Link. It all falls onto Kriya, who's on just 9 points of health over towards mid. It is another round on the board for SFISH123.
Yeah, not good looks here for the side of NIP. They're trying, but at the end of the day, in a lot of these instances, SFISH123, they've got great usage of their utility, but in some of these cases, I'm finding that they're just winning the gun duels or winning the swings. And that does not have a lot to do with the utility that is actually spent. In some cases, if you flash and you get a frag, well, I mean, that person couldn't really see. If they kill you through the blind, then that's great. But they get the utility, they find one, but then they push forward and they still keep finding more and more and more. And now that puts NIP in an awkward scenario. They're deciding to force up. And I mean, you have to respect this call considering they save on the second last round and then the last round they'll buy. So they have no choice but to force up here. Spectres and Bulldogs and varying tools on the tool belt. Fearoth, unfortunately, peeks and he looks up the wall, but they're not there. This time they are just pushing standard. The Resurrection looking to try to come through, but indecisiveness pulls them off of it. And now the attack flushing back out. We'll see if they decide to commit to the rotate over towards the courtyard or towards Cat, but so far they're just kind of huddled around the gelato shop looking for a quick bite.
Yeah, Fearoth barely survived with that ult, snuck into the corner, and that 3rd and final pulse came right in front of him. Kriya whiffed big time. He had that Sova right around the corner and just could not finish off that kill as he peeks with the bow out to fire a recon dart. And Kriya was just having a hard time tracing that target, couldn't quite connect. So a bit of a missed opportunity there for the defense of NIP. SFISH123 again. They love this B site. We've seen them go there oh so many times. There's the dark cover down as the leer comes through from Hip. They'll start falling back. The Omen is here, and they're going to start rotating out. There's the recon dart to give away Lucker's position, who's playing solo defense, currently dinked through the wall. Kriya gets one onto Eccles, but Scream is there with the immediate response. And again, this B site is a problem right now for NIP. They just cannot play defense up over the top. Rhyme sees the wall come through and knows where the gun is, so he understands where to put that crosshair as the wall sends that Sage up into the sky. But the kills are piling up currently for SFISH123, and the last remaining player has been spotted in B main. Actually, that was the attacker, excuse me. Rhyme actually inside towards the switch house. Spotted out now, and yeah, that's basically the round going their way. Scream, again, another multi-kill round as the B site continues to be somewhat porous here for NIP. SFISH123 put out feelers across the map, but they almost always end up finding success back on the B site. And it's not necessarily with a split push. It's just primary B main push. It seems like time and time again, that's how they get into the site. They just come through B main. Scream, 12-5 currently for SFISH123 as the breach.
You know what I love about Scream is that in certain instances, you might ask yourself, is the player good or is the player good on the agent? And I think Scream is just both. You know, obviously he's coming from CS, and he's obviously got the great mechanical skill from CS that allows him to perform like that. Just hop on in. The flash worked out, but still managed to find himself a quick little rhyme. But he's also sets up his team great with the utility that he has. You know, he can also play Sage, uses the great utility there as well. Just a lot of different facets of play that Scream is able to put on. Of course, he wants to be the one that takes out his enemies, but there are times where he shows little flashes of team play, and he sets us up. He sets his team up for success. Lucker going to avoid that fall line, but the flash comes through. It's a little bit too painful. He'll get taken out by Eccles, and it's a free site to take. Easy peasy. Now the rest of the team will start to come through. They'll be taken out one at a time, and instead of getting that spike down, well, they will get it down. It's the rest of the team that are now hunting down Kriya. He's the last member standing. Scream will not anticipate that, but the rest of the team now know that something's cooking, and it'll be the swing here from Solkas that'll take out Kriya. Rough half here for the side of NIP, but now this will be the last round where they can really make it count and potentially bring us to an 8-4 score line.
Here's the thing. When we came into this tournament, one of the things we wanted to see was what teams should we expect to see compete at a high level once we get to global play and not just regional. So once we get to land play and we can see the European teams face off against some of the North American teams that we've gotten a lot to see, who are going to be the teams that put up a good performance. But just be realistic, bro. I live in NA and I'm watching both regions. NA is stronger at the moment, and that's the fact. Later in the games will probably change, but not right now. You're talking about TSM like the Wardell is only good player there. The fact is Drone, Sabrosa, Brax, AZK, Ska, Crashies, Tens, Wardell are better than 99% EU players. Thank you, chat, for that one. 8 rounds on the board for SFISH123. NIP struggling a bit here. And we'll see if they're able to at least do something towards the tail end, but this push looks promising thus far. They'll go ahead and use that Omen port to get onto the site along with the Rolling Thunder, and the defense is decimated. So it's up to retake time for NIP, and you've got that ult being popped here by the Reyna. Kriya and Lucker both come in with a kill very quickly. Lucker getting one over top of the boxes on the site. So it comes down to now a 3-on-2, but again, that Reyna ult is popped, and it's so deadly and dangerous, and we've seen that at times. The Lear to lead him in. Hip dives into sight. There's the dismiss to survive a little while longer, but can't come out of it with the rifle in hand. Link will get the last 2 kills on the round, 3 on the round in total. 9 rounds for SFISH123 on the attack.
Yeah, it's not looking good. It's not looking good. You anticipate at least a fighting chance for the side of NIP. This is where they can really make it count, at least make a dent. They are now swapping over to the attack. Let's see what they can do. You know, SFISH123, if they're able to win the pistol here, it's huge. The repercussions of it mean NIP could potentially bleed way too many rounds and put SFISH123 in a position to close out the series. And that means that NIP gets sent home. A team that statistically we thought might come through and make it to the grand finals to, in theory, play against potentially G2. You know, theoretically, G2's coming in as a big favorite. And so it makes sense to slot them in as a team that could make it to the grand finals. Well, we also thought NIP would be there too, but SFISH123, as the tournament has progressed, I feel like they've really gotten comfortable in their own skin and have really started to come alive. And we're seeing great strategies, great use of utility, and great. I think communication's probably been the biggest win for SFISH123. You know, we talk about Mitch, who's got his earbuds tuned into the Scream stream. He's finding out that their communication is on par. They are like a solid, well-oiled machine. Maybe the agent selection needs a little bit of work, but overall, they're working well. Here comes the push from NIP. They're looking for an opportunity to take over this B site, really give SFISH123 a taste of their own medicine. So far, they'll find one. Still, there's two in the back of sight. One will be taken out, but they don't anticipate a second. It's Solkis. He's going to find two, make it very difficult for NIP, but they will still take him out. And now, the last member standing, it is Cryptix. We've seen what he can do before, but against three, it can be very difficult. The jump peek spots him out that he's still there in the open doors, and now the rest of the team will start to come through. Too many angles for him to check, and it's Firoth that puts that last member to the grave. A great round for them to win. They needed to win the pistol. Let's see if they can do it here. And I'm just going to guess that that Fish123 are on the force up here. We've seen them do it so many times. Let's see what they end up purchasing.
I mean, look at this hold from the back of sight inside. Just what are you supposed to do there? NIP are now staring down the barrel of a 5-round deficit, but at least they can get things moving in the right direction. How does Fish123 respond? Of course, you're going to see the full buy come through from both teams. That's just what they do. That's how these rounds go. So we've got the SMGs, we've got the Judge. The Judge obviously being the one to watch out for. That's, I think, in the hands of Eccles over on short. You've got Cryptix with the Stinger back behind the boxes on site. There's the recon dart going in, and that's going to give away his position. Eccles wants to come around this corner. There's the shotgun. Oh no, at that distance, it's not going to do you much good. The pellets spread out oh so far. And as a result, it's NIP gaining access to the site. 2 players remain here on the defense for Fish123, but they're pretty far disconnected from the play. They're back in spawn. Solkis tries to use the gap in the wall. Doesn't work out so well as the Bulldog is waiting. And now it's Lucker who's looking at feet picks currently, trying to spot out that last remaining player. And the angle gave away the position, but couldn't connect on the shots. The Sage actually would be better off just saving and bringing that weapon into the next round.
Yeah, Link unfortunately going to meet his demise by his alter ego, Lucker, and that'll be a round on the board for NIP. They're keeping their dream close and they're keeping it alive. Still 4 rounds for them to go, and now that Fish123 found themselves in the force up, not really sure what their weaponry looks like now. We'll have to see as we cycle through some of the players. Again, just a friendly reminder, we haven't really had a chance to turn on our broken record Bach, but the scoreboard is bugged, and we can't really do anything about it. In the second half, there's not much that we can look at. I think Riot will look to fix it. They're obviously aware of the issue. Next patch is July 21st, so expect that to come quite shortly, as we are now looking at some of the weaponry online for Fish123, looking like another force, which could have some serious repercussions in the round to follow. Let's see if they're able to even make anything work with some of these guns, but Scream has to back away as he's being pushed up through Pizza.
A heavy mid presence right now from NIP with 3 players grouping up. Cryptix is around the corner. The shotgun gonna work out well. He'll convert on the kill, and he realizes there's no one there, so he wants to go for the swing to maybe pick up that gun. But it's gonna be a B play right now. And you've got the Omen on site. You've got the Breach here as well supporting Scream. Can't connect on the no-scope. Solkis has to go into the back of sight yet again. So Solkis is here with a Bucky. Last time he did this was in the pistol round with a shotgun. Trying to defend doesn't work out as well for him. Only 1 kill on that push. They haven't secured the spike yet, so there's still time for some of these members of Fish123 to try and get in position. Kriya's going to go ahead and put that one down onto pay dirt. And again, you can see with Cryptix backing off, it's likely to just be exits coming in here for Fish123. They'll take out the tripwire, and Eccles and his teammate going to be moving back towards mid.
NIP, 1 round at a time. The half swaps over, and they start to make things work. Seems to be that they are quite the opposite of Fish123. Fish123 like that A site. They like pushing towards that A site, but NIP, they relatively want nothing to do with it. Kriya will find Eccles. It's Cryptix that's there with the refrag, or at least to make things a little bit more difficult on the retreat towards the defender's spawn, but they'll still manage to find Cryptix regardless. And now 3 rounds separate the attack from the defense, and Fish123, after 2 rounds in a row forcing, you can imagine that their economy is not looking so hot. So anticipating some pistols, unless by some magical feat they have enough credits to buy some assault rifles, which, you know, if we had the scoreboard, we would know, of course, but once we cycle through some players, we'll be able to see what they actually have. Pings are starting to come through, and it does look like NIP are looking for one of their first A pushes of the map. But Lucker with the operator, you definitely don't want to peek that. And Breach, or rather Scream, is interested as he's hovering around the catwalk.
Scream's gonna send that tremor down. Oh, that tap was almost right on the money. Would have been one of the dirtiest shots had it connected and been lethal. It looked like it was just a shot to the neck, though, so it kind of just strayed a little bit too far south. Much like a neck beard. Right now, NIP looking to gain control on this A site. Eccles is back behind the boxes, only able to get the first shot before being taken out by Hip, who will drop in the M to Rhyme, but there's Cryptix here with 2 more of his own from inside hell. The shock darts right on the money, but Cryptix is oh so punishing. 4 kills coming in from the Cypher, who waited patiently on the site. SFISH123 finally hit double digits here on the defense.
I'm just laughing at that because, you know, on that Haven map, there were a couple of instances that I saw where certain players, they get so hype in the moment, they forget to look for some of the weapons that might be on the ground. And in that scenario, Cryptix for a second, he kind of lost himself in the sauce. Just so many frags that he was able to find hiding down in hell. And then at the end, he ended up picking up the operator. But these are some passionate players that we've got here. And Cryptix, he may not come alive every single round. You know, we've got the rest of the team that has some top performers and Scream and Eccles, but Cryptix, when he comes online, he ends up with 2, with 3, with 4. He can be that clutch player that you need, and in that instance, he was. Inching his team ever so close now to the victory, 2 rounds away from that match point. They're looking to put another one here on the board. As the setup is good, 3 stacked towards B, and I like this read. They're anticipating a standard B push from NIP, and they're prepared for it. Let's see if that ends up panning out here for NIP.
They're sitting in B main. Currently, the missed shot on the Aldrone initially results in a dart in the neck of the Sage. That'll give away that position, but it's the only player they spotted. Again, it's a full B main play coming in from NIP. You've got Cypher right around the corner using his camera opposite him. So he's in that cubby, waiting for the push to come through, sees the dark cover come out, just waiting for the peek, watching both market and watching B main. There's the initial peek coming in from Fearoth, trying to look for the camera. Is the Cypher? Cryptix in this position now, has to swing, has no choice, can't convert on a second. The ult being popped from Sulcus in the back of sight, delaying on the pulse, decides to put the bow away. Eccles picking off Lucker, but it's the Empress that's been popped from Hip. You gotta watch out. It can be oh so scary. That fast fire rate. There's the first one picked up here by Hip. Full HP as he goes for the dismiss. There's a target to its left, but the problem is the site has not been gained up in control yet. There's the quick shot coming out from Eccles. Now he has to spot out the last player with 3 seconds left. Oh, that was a little bit scary, but Sulcus goes for the swing and ends up winning the 1v1 duel against the Empress popped ult on Reyna. NIP gonna lose another round here, and SFISH123 get closer to closing things out 2-1.
Listen, SFISH123, they had a good read on the setup. 3 committed towards the B site, and in most cases, you want a lot more hovering around the middle and, quite honestly, towards the A site. But this is where their read kind of does not go their way. 4 committed towards this A site, anticipating NIP to switch things up a bit, but they've been hitting B consistently throughout the attacker side, and they still have the weapons to tango, so they'll start to push in. It's the camera that has not spotted them out quite yet from the side of Cryptix. And an early peek here. Link's going to try to find one frag, but it's not going to be the case. The rest of the team having to now rush over. The one-way might be good enough. Does not find the target there. As Kriya will push forward, teleporting from one spot to the next, but he will be dealt with quickly by Cryptix. And now the push comes in. Cryptix with 2. That may delay enough time for the rest of the team to now come in. Scream, he gets taken out from a distance. It's the Sheriff from Rhyme that seals his fate. And now with that spike down and the neural theft out, this may look like SFISH123's round to lose. And as a result, they will back away with the weaponry that they have. No need to overextend. Eccles alongside Sulcus will back away and just look for some exits.
Again, would love to take a look at the scoreboard, but there is currently a bug. So I know I've seen some people asking, hey, scoreboard. There you go. That's the bug. We can't do anything about it. It only shows us the top 2 performers for each team. So Korea's at 15 and 13, 17 and 10 from Solkas. We talked about it at times. Not necessarily the top performer. It's not that he's bad. It's just that he's not that guy you necessarily profile as being the player to put up big stats for this team. But here, having a great game thus far. And it's 7 rounds on the board for NIP. SFISH123 again. Very close to that finish line. They can take 1 step for every 2 of NIP and still close things out.
Let's see what ends up being the read here for SFISH123, because that seems to be their successes that they find. If they commit a lot more resources towards that B site, they may find that the defense will be quite handy for them. But this time I like the play. They're playing towards middle, something that NIP have not really done a whole lot of. And once you give up control of the middle, you'll start to get pinched in. You are seeing now Korea try to adapt and at least have a little bit of vision towards the center there. And now as the utility starts to come through, you're seeing the positioning Solkas with the recon bolt. That's a very important one. It'll spot out 3 and give a lot of information as to what might be occurring here right before their very eyes. On the opposite side, however, there are 2 members from the side of NIP sending out some feelers towards the A site. On there is, of course, Cryptics and Scream, and you do not want to mess with those 2, so carefully peeking will be kind of the name of the game, as they're just gathering some territory as they push forward for the rest of the team to start to rotate over. So the read from the side of SFISH123, they may need to start culling some of those rotates out earlier, as they only saw hip in the fish market. And as a result, you ask yourself, well, where are NIP? Where are they going? Where are they going to end up? And so far, Cryptics, he's got a very safe camera placement, which doesn't actually tell him if they start to push forward. That's going to be the Hunter's Fury. Information has now been given, and unfortunately for Cryptics, he's caught between a rock and a hard place. He'll be taken out, but Scream will be there for the refrag. Unfortunately, will fall directly after. And the rest of SFISH123 now have finally arrived at the crime scene, but there are bodies on the floor, and they need to retake the site.
That is the risk of playing that position, playing in hell. When the ult gets popped, there's not much that can be done. Eccles looking for a lineup through the floor. Not connecting, having to back off, and instead it's a response of fire from Lucker after the recon bolt will give away his position. So now it's Solkas who picks up the op, and he realizes, let's get out of here. Pull the ripcord, it's time to bail. Great take again from NIP. They continue to fight for control of this 3rd and final map. Both teams slugging it out currently, but it's NIP who's getting in a couple of successful jabs in a row. Link lays down the wall. The spam comes through from the Reyna. Even though he catches hip halfway through a magazine, he still ends up losing in that one-on-one exchange. Here's the shot coming in from Solkas as well. Not exactly an op player, so now he's just trying to hide in the back of sight, and he'll be able to do that successfully. The op will come into the next round. It'll get tossed over to Eccles, but what does the buy look like for the rest of SFISH123?
Yeah, they had a couple of rounds where they were at least able to keep things cooking and keep things alive. And on the opposite side, you are now seeing Economy not in the greatest place. They saved the operator, but that might be the only thing that they are going to be using to great succession in the round at hand. Everyone else on some pistols, which means potentially another round for NIP. But considering we haven't seen SFISH123 on pistols that often, really, the map previous, they were in the driver's seat and never really had to drop down to an eco round. And so now we are experiencing a tactical pause. Maybe NIP need a little bit more time to get their bladders cooking and let it run through. From what I hear, they drink a lot of water. So these tactical pauses, as these games can run quite long, are pretty important to make sure that you are in the right mindset.
Yeah, they took a tactical pee in one of the maps. So not sure what the reason for the pause is here, or who it was called by. Again, given the scoreline currently and the situation that both teams are in, it could be either side. SFISH123 could be taking a timeout to talk things over and say, okay, listen, we got to talk this out. We got to figure out what we're going to do, because we're starting to bleed rounds here. And the last thing you want to do is let NIP on double digits. So this is a massive round coming in for SFISH123. If they can find a way to secure this as a victory, get on that 12th point, they can relax just a bit, knowing that they've at least guaranteed overtime. And on the opposite side, you could see them saying, okay, yeah, we've won a few rounds in a row, but don't get cocky. Don't get too confident, because this is still the same team who found themselves on 11 rounds in the first place. This is still the same team who dominated us in the first half. So let's continue with our slow, careful, and methodical approach. Let's not get into our own heads, and let's play the game we've been playing all half.
You know, considering how much of a lead SFISH123 had coming into this second half, both teams obviously want a chance at the grand finals, you know, and regardless of which team ends up falling, still anybody's game now at this point, considering we've seen NIP start to come alive and really bring some rounds back in their favor, really close that gap between the two teams. I think both teams can confidently say they are one of the best in Europe. You know, there's not really a whole lot of space, but when you and I return to our roots back to NA, there's a lot more teams at the table contending for the best. And here we are quite honestly looking at some of the best teams in Europe. And so regardless of which one falls out in the semifinals, you can still expect these teams to bounce back and come to the next tournament swinging. But now that the pause has run out, Eccles unfortunately drops off of the boost, does not see anyone in the smoke going to come out. And I like this play from SFISH123. The lack of mid control previously has been a big problem. And for the first time, it's going to be NIP that use mid to try to push forward. And Eccles now having to get out of a very sticky situation. Just going to jump out. And now NIP deciding where they want to head on over. So far, they're just huddled around the middle here. And really not decided where they want to go. Middle going to be the name of the game. They normally will push in through B here, and on that B site is, of course, Link and Sulcus, as the Owl Drone will push away the opposing Silver player, but they don't really have the guns. They don't really have the weaponry. That was a Bucky there for Sulcus, and the rest of the team, I'm going to assume, is also on some very difficult weaponry.
Here.
Eccles back far with the operator, spots him around the corner. Nice quick shot coming out on Rhyme, but the rest get around the corner. Sulcus on the Bucky. Might be able to do significant damage if played right. You've got one coming up lane. The first shot, though, it's not on the money. Link from backside also not able to convert. And now this is a little bit sketchy for SFISH123 because all three players are in the same spot. Fearoth is actually over in Cubby next to the door, so that dark cover towards B main, not really going to make a big difference. Lucker is here waiting for the peek to come through, but there's the port to get across, coming in from the Omen, immediately punished by Fearoth, that player that was in Cubby. Lucker wants to go for a peek. Don't necessarily think that was the right play, but an immediate trade coming in from the likes of Fearoth brings it down to one. It's Scream trying to get into the site. He's got crisp aim. Is it crisp enough? First shot, a little bit sketchy. Goes to the knife to jump around the corner, and Hip is there to save the day for NIP. A scary round for both sides that ends up in a one-on-one that Hip's able to win. A 9th round on the board for NIP. And the money for SFISH123 should actually be really bad here. So this is a chance for NIP to hit that double-digit round.
Wow. You know, coming into this, I thought SFISH123 had a lot of momentum. You know, Haven, of course, did not go their way.
All right.
Probably the way that they wanted it to go. But now that we're seeing the weaponry really rough for the side of SFISH123, they're just trying to keep things as competitive as possible, and it hasn't really been working out, to be quite honest. The first time NIP are looking towards the A site, and there is only Eccles there already with the Bucky. Cryptics, of course, going to be holding on from Catwalk. Still, NIP are waiting for the opportunity to push in. Lots of cyber cages on the site, but here comes the gunfight as Fearoth will open up onto Eccles. Hip will follow up onto Sulcus, but the weaponry is not really there. Cryptics has a shotgun, able to get some damage onto one. It's Korea that ends up falling as the rest of the team of the defense will fall back off of the rafters. And with that door closed, it means that they now need to reposition for this retake. Spike, of course, officially going down. It's just up to Cryptics, Link, and Scream. They've all got ultimates available. Resurrection can, of course, come through, and Rhyme is already out of the conversation. This will be a rough round for NIP to lose, but they are still going to have to fight through 3 more on the side of SFISH123. Cryptics going to use that Rolling Thunder to help push onto the site. Hip ready with the Leer, making it very difficult to push in. One frag comes through for Lucker. They're still trying to find what they can, and it's just down to one. Hiding behind the generator. Shock Bolt makes it difficult, and then the spray from Hip with the Empress. Putting us up to double digits, 11-10. 1 round separates these teams, and Bach, we are nearing the end of one of these teams' lives in the tournament. It could be anyone's game now at this point, and SFISH123 desperately needs some weaponry to play with.
Not sure how I feel about that Rolling Thunder use coming in from Scream. Given that it wasn't really the greatest equipment for them, even with the Rolling Thunder, it was going to be difficult for them to get into that site. So I was looking at it, I'm like, I see both sides of this. I get the value behind popping the Rolling Thunder now, but at the same point in time, I also would have liked to see them save it for a round where it could have maybe a little bit more impact. Eccles, speaking of that impact, gets aggressive in B main and takes out one early. Now they have the res, no surprise there, it comes out, but at least they burn that res. They'll continue to push up. They're going to spam through that box as there was one there. It's an interesting fight right now with a lot of bodies built up in B main. Lucker with a quick shot takes Scream out of the play. Again, there is a res available, but now there's two down here for SFISH123. NIP have a two-man advantage after the res comes through and the off shots rain true coming in from Lucker. You've got Solkis on the site. He needs some support. Link is here, ready to watch the cross onto site, but can't really peek towards B main.
Still trying to get a look in. Link will win the operator duel, and now that weapon is unfortunately out of play unless NIP are able to pick it up. The rest of the team now having to leave the premises, and still it is the 3v4. And I have a feeling that SFISH123 do not want to give up any of this control at all. Firoth now pushing forward. The spray is not going to be good for Cryptix as he'll be taken out, and now they will just funnel in on towards that A site. This could tie things up 11-11. Link will find Rhyme, and still it's the fight that continues for the defense, but it's just up to the two of them. That'll be Firoth with the Hunter's Fury. Link maybe looking for a resurrection of one of his players, or looking to try to keep it for when the rounds really start to matter. But right now they're really mattering. Bach, shots good from Link. Now it's just down to the 2v2. Very doable here from the side of the defense, but they need to hurry up. That spike's really starting to dwindle down second after second. The resurrection onto Cryptix. They want to win this round to put it up to match point, but that spike is ticking fast. They need to act. The two members, they are playing quite far back. Korea gathering information, gathers as much as he can, trying to stick it to half. Link does successfully, but here comes the shot, hit with two. It's Solkis just down to the 1v1, and Korea ties us up. 11-11.
Great round coming in from NIP. SFISH123 did everything they could, but it was the initial damage dealt by Lucker with the operator that proved to be a problem. You saw the trade out come in as Sage managed to take care of Lucker, prevent him from doing too much more, and some quick shots came out from Link as well. Just missed that shot as he jumped over the box, but it was this shot that was impressive. Firoth should have had him dead to rights, but in that 1v1, Korea just has to time the peak well, and time it he does. We are tied up at 11 apiece after SFISH123 controlled that first half, incredibly so, 9-3. NIP have managed to claw their way back into the game. And this round, a lot of weight on the backs of both teams, not wanting to surrender that 12th round. Don't really know what the buy's going to look like for SFISH123. I mean, you could see Eccles does have a Phantom, but he's on light armor, so the cash was definitely a concern for them. And as a result, NIP is playing this one slow. They don't want to walk into any traps. They don't want to wander into maybe that shotgun play, playing right around a corner. Maybe there's a judge somewhere waiting for them to wander in. You can see Scream light armor on a Bulldog as well. They're really stacking their chips towards that A site with three players here. One watching short, that's the Sova. Breach in sight alone, and the Omen was here as well, but he's starting to rotate out.
Still down to the 5v5, and SFISH123 want to keep their dreams alive. Lucker lost the op duel last time, but don't think he's got to deal with it now. Korea going to find an early pick. Eccles, as the smoke dissipates, will be taken out by Firoth, and already looking like a rough round here for SFISH123 Cryptix. We've seen him get a 4K with just the weaponry that he's got. Link will already take out Hype. They will find the frags that they need to even things back around, but the time is really starting to dwindle down, and it's the round win for NIP. A quick one at that. Match point for NIP. They struggled on Bind, the map that they chose, and they are answering back here on Ascent. They've got the buffer. If SFISH123 win the next round, it'll take us to OT, but NIP may not even need to take us there. They might just close things out here. The economy, not sure what it looks like for the side of SFISH123. As we cycle through some of the players, we might be able to see, but they've got a lot of ult economy. They've got a lot to work with. All they need to do is take us to OT, and that'll keep their dreams alive, but NIP want none of that. They want to close this out now, and they want to be waiting for their opponent in the grand finals.
Lucker. He's got his trusty operator. NIP have fought their way tooth and nail to get back into this game. There's the owl drone coming out right on the other side of this dark cover. Gonna spot the one going for the port, so they know there could be one close. Scream spamming away with that rifle, looking to line up the shots, but it's not connecting. SFISH123 may not be signed by Liquid yet, but they're certainly starting to choke like they do. Sorry, I had to steal that from you.
It's all good.
As soon as you posted it, I couldn't help myself.
Listen,
I mean, this is brutal. SFISH123
Yes,
had this game in the palm of their hands. How does this get to this point?
I don't know. NIP, they've just been playing some good Valorant. These dry peaks, they're going their way. They're feeling confident. They're feeling themselves. Even when Eccles tries to push forward, he finds himself in a position where he can't get the frags he needs. It's a quick trade, though, so things will definitely start to open up, at least for SFISH123, as the rest of NIP are starting to fall apart. It's down to Korea and Hip. Here comes the shot from Cryptix, just down to Hip as the last and final member. Still can get the job done. It's the 1v3, but there's time ticking, and the spike needs to go in his hands and on the ground. But as one of the last members standing, not a whole lot that he can do. We'll try to stick the plan here, but it's the swing from Solkas. Fox say it ain't so. We're going to overtime. Things could really go either way.
Does the scoreboard get fixed if we go into overtime? That's the question. I wonder if it's still... Yes, it does! Oh, it's so clutch. For those that don't know, there is a bug. We've already said it like 50,000 times, but at halftime, the scoreboard bugs out and it only shows you one player on each side. So then when we get to overtime, apparently we get to see all 5 players from both teams. This is amazing. Solkis, 21 kills, 14 deaths, leading the charge. There is going to be a dual op look coming in from NIP. Interesting. They're gonna... Oh, never mind. They thought about it. For a second, they thought about it. We had Lucker and we had Kriya on the op as well, but they're gonna go with the solo op look. But you can see Lucker's gone armorless because he wants to get the wall and the slow orbs in there because you only get enough money to afford so much in these overtimes. Again, it's win by 2, so it's not sudden death any longer. This game went from looking like it could be NIP series to take 2-0 to an obvious third map after SFISH123 looked great in map 2 and NIP fell flat. And then it was looking like SFISH123 was going to close things out here. But after an abysmal first half, NIP fought their way back into the game. And while they weren't able to take it in that final round, they did force OT.
Of course, the sides have swapped. It is SFISH123 on the attack now, and we saw how successful that half went for them. It's the defense that they really struggle with. NIP just have this weird way of playing, and it's very difficult to read where they're going to end up. So for this round, very important that they have to come out on top with this one. And so far, they've pushed through the middle. Wall comes off as the rest of the team is holding towards this A-side. Spike quite close towards the A-side. It's just a lot of the faking that we've seen before from the side of SFISH123. The executes are going to start to come through, but it's the wall that stops. Solkas dead in his tracks. Shots are good from Fearoth and Lucker as well. They'll defend this as well as they can. Shots not going to connect as they will trade back for the 2v2. And now it's up to 3 on both sides. Fearoth has joined the fray. Slow Orb going to stop that push from the rafters. The rest of the team now joining the party. Hopefully you brought a gift because it's the defense now for the side of SFISH123. They've got that spike down. They got to defend this site. And let's see how they do so.
NIP checking the backside, making sure there's no one coming in from that area. A very close, very careful and methodical approach, coming in from NIP. Fearoth will be the first one to fall. Rhyme with a quick kill coming out, making his way through the door. Hip has spotted one, and now it's down to Link, who's currently underneath, and it's going to be a 1v1 between him and Rhyme. He'll go ahead and stick the defuse, but there's not enough time. It will be SFISH123 who win the first round. They'll have to win one more as they swap sides. Again, it'll be back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. So the way that it works is you play a round on each side and you continue to swap until you can win 2 rounds in a row.
Ooh, this could end right here. I know that the analysts are probably sitting at the edge of their seat. This round, this map in particular has kind of gone back and forth. You know, SFISH123 had a great convincing start at the beginning of this half, and things have started to really swing back into the side of NIP, and that seems to be the way that they play. things look rough, and then they find their footing and they find their confidence. And I think that's key. When you have confidence, anything is possible. But the stakes are on the line now. They need to win this round if they want to keep their fight forward. And let's see how things start out. It's going to be the Lear that opens up. Korea will find a great pick. That's hip as well, but there's too much to look forward to as Solkus will find that refrag. But now it's just down to 2 members for the side of SFISH123. Link moving ever so closely towards the fruit market, but knows that there's one playing close left, and that's the shots that won't connect. This Rhyme that takes him out, and Cryptics all up to him. It's the Cypher v Cypher, the man in the mirror, and it's Rhyme, the one that wins. And then again, back to being tied up. Now the sides reset once again, and we're back where we started.
We knew this would be a great series as it was a rematch from earlier on in the event.
This is a nice spot.
SFISH123 fell to NIP. That's what sent them into that match where they had to play against Party Parrots to make it to this point. NIP, they want to make it out of this so they can get that rematch against potentially G2, who still has to prove themselves against a Need More DM team that's been somewhat surprising based on the performance we've seen from them thus far this event. But it does seem like that was going to be our likely finale. But SFISH123 have really been pushing it to the breaking point. We find ourselves tied yet again, so let's swap sides, and we'll continue on. Nice peek coming out from Scream. Lucker's going on top of his wall. Does not anticipate that aggressive play from Scream. And it ends up working out nicely for SFISH123. The early man advantage and the Sage support taken out of the round.
It's a great pick, too. Lucker, in some instances, has been, one of the deciding factors to keep the team alive, but usually it's just Kriya or Hip. So those are still 2 members that are alive and in the mix. I like this read here from the side of NIP, committing 3 towards the A site while just leaving the anchor towards the B site. There's a lot of utility there, so anticipation of the push forward will be read from quite a ways away. Fearoth will close the door, and the defense will stop that push in, or a potential push in from the catwalk. The flash is unfortunately huge, as they will find 2 opening up onto the site, but now it's just down to Hip. Does not have the Empress, so it's going to be very difficult, but they don't even read it as he just mows them down as they push forward, looking for that 3rd one. Can't find it, but it's just down to 1 final player here. That spike going down. Rhyme has a tall task ahead of them to take out 3, but it does not look like it's going to be likely. SFISH123
Shots.
going to be moving forward, maybe, as Rhyme will find 1. Still 2. They're playing towards the wine cellar. Have themselves a crossfire set up, and unfortunately for Rhyme, very difficult to know what to do in this scenario. Where do I go? How do I clear things out? Gets shots delivered from the wine cellar, so now has to either stick to defuse or battle things out. They swing together, and unfortunately for Rhyme, he'll be taken out. And that's another round on the board for SFISH123, and NIP now have the pressure once again to not let SFISH123 close this out.
With the way that these halves had been pretty attack heavy, I'm not really sure how long this is going to go on before we see one of these teams actually chain 2 together. This has the makings of being one of our longer overtime games that we've ever covered if this continues on. NIP loses that round. They have to win one here. And they're going to be moving over towards the B site where they're going to be looking for that success. Link is playing very close. There's 1 backing him up as well. They're right around the corner, starting to peek their way in. There's Lucker with the operator, but Solkus there with the immediate trade. Swing wide from Scream doesn't result in the amount of success he had anticipated off the flash, and that'll send Solkus reeling into the backside of sight. So a duel going both directions results in NIP with a man advantage as they work their way onto this B site. There's still quite a few bodies built up. Kriya's going to find one, as does Hip. It looks like we're going to continue riding this ride as it's down to now 1. Cryptics as the Cypher back in spawn, and the site's been lost and the spike's been planted here for NIP.
It's on a map like Ascent that can be just so volatile to both sides. And I don't presume Cryptics will come out on top. I mean, he found a frag last time, I think, on this specific side as well. But unfortunately, he's in a 1v3. All his utilities on the opposite side. And Hip just swings at the right opportune moment. So moving on to the next round. It's just not looking like any team is coming out with the stronger side here quite yet. If NIP are able to win this round, I have a feeling that they'll be able to close it out. That seems to be the difference maker. SFISH123 cannot defend against NIP, and we actually saw that throughout that second half. It's really what allowed NIP to come back. But if NIP are able to defend against SFISH123, we might see them close things out here. Let's see how the setup comes forward. It's SFISH123 that are now ready for the attack. They're pushing up through Catwalk, trying to have a little bit of control of mid. Last time there was the boost from Lucker. He's not going to risk that this time. Now it's the 2-3 split, looking towards both sites. Let's see how SFISH123 bring things together.
Again, these attacker side halves continue to be the way this game goes. Link on Cat. Moving up with the rest of the team, you've got Hip playing aggressively right around this corner. Do they clear it? Yes, they do, but it's a soft clear coming in from Eccles as he goes for the dismiss to try and dodge the damage. Eventually, that wall bang is going to come through. You can see it right away, dinked through that wall. So a one-and-done position for Hip. No support from the rest of the team either, so no opportunity for a trade. A recon dart not going to give away the positions. The spike is down on Deep Cat, but there's bodies building currently over towards the B site. So the Sova is going to have to grab spike and run all the way through spawn. With the clock where it is, that's actually a problem. That's going to burn a significant portion of the round that's left. So it comes down to the defense here. You can see 20 seconds now, and the spike is still making its way towards B main. As they start coming out towards the site, one's going to get caught in the tripwire. 10 seconds left for them to get that spike on and actually planted. Now it's on the 10-second point on the clock as they actually manage to get site control, but all they have to do is peek and deny the plant. Fira swings wide. That's the spike carrier going down. It looks like we'll get a defensive round here as NIP somehow managed to survive, and a big piece of that is SFISH123 leaving the spike all the way away from that B site, deep on Catwalk, and it backfires horrendously for them.
How many times have we seen them do that, Bach? They just keep it so far back. How can that be the point of reference that is the wrong thing that SFISH123 are doing? How often do we see them leave that spike so far back that they have to go double back and pick it up? You know, I talk about how great their communication is when they're executing, but it seems like their communication when it comes to some of the more simpler elements of Valorant just seems to not really be there. So now that NIP are on the attack, I can confidently say that this may be a round that they are looking to win. They've had great attacking rounds in the second half. They've had great attacking rounds in the OT, but this is SFISH123 with their backs against the wall, so who knows what they might try? Who knows how weird things may get? And already Scream in that back corner on the catwalk having to back away and give up some of that control.
Round number 30. Feeling like I'm watching some CS at this point, as a potential score line could be 16-14 if NIP can do what they've done in the past on the attacking side. Right now they're grouped up in mid. Spike gonna get dropped back as Firoth has an advanced position in mid. Gonna send his Al drone around the corner in a moment. Scream is currently back behind that wall around the corner in towards spawn. And Scream's actually rotating out over towards A. Oh no. They're making the call that this could be an A play. There's a lot of bodies over on A, but it's going to be a B push. There's only two players playing defense here. It's the Sova and the Sage. So if they push into this site, this could be a problem. And you can see they are moving there, but there's only 25 seconds left. So yet again, a very slow take coming in from the attack. And that's a kill coming out from Link. A second one as a follow-up as well from backside site. Make it 3 for Link. He's looking for a fourth. There's one around the corner. Not going to work out, but the site... He has time for the plant. It's going to come down to a 1-on-3. Can Rhyme somehow clutch this out?
It's going to be up to him. We'll see if he starts to do it. But they'll start to funnel in one at a time. One shot's going to be good. Has to reload the clip. And they're going to start to push him forward. Both sides of the box are coming through. It's down to the 1v1 Rhyme. Oh, so close. Almost had the ace there. But Scream bringing us back 15-15. When will this overtime end?
My goodness. You know, we saw a lot of attack-heavy halves. So when NIP won that defensive round, you're thinking, okay, this is it. This is where they close things out. But nope, we keep on going around and around and around, trying to find a winner. NIP taking a little bit too long to get into that B site. It's a problem we've seen from both teams at times, just struggling to get into a site with enough time left on the clock. So NIP switches back to the defense now, and they're hopeful that they can repeat that success that they found just a few rounds ago. Viroth peeking towards long, sending a recon bolt out. Not going to spot anything. Eccles is pushed up in mid. Again, it's hip right around the corner. We saw this position work well for him before, but it resulted in his immediate demise after that first kill came through, and it was on to Eccles, who's also on the other side of that wall.
SFISH123, during their attacker side, played a lot towards that A side, and have since then really switched things up a little bit. The feelers that they sent out towards the fish market have kind of come up empty-handed. A couple of shots here for Hip. The frag will eventually come through as Cryptix has a great crossfire set up and just peeks through into the courtyard and will take out one of the members here from NIP. And so far, it's a great start. It's the 4v5. We've seen some very crazy things happen on this map, and so things are still very doable for the side of NIP. Lucker in a great position with the operator, has a very difficult position to back away from, but unfortunately does not look and has to back away at a weird time. They may still look to push in here, but it's the one way that will keep them from pushing forward. Now as they come through, one shot's good, but now has to reposition, will not be traded away. It's Rhyme that'll end up finding Scream, still down to the 3v3. And it's been NIP that have brought it down to this point. Solkas, he's going to be pushing in through the fish market. Rhyme has to wait for the rest of his team to come in through the defender spawn, and Solkas, he's going to likely hear this out. Tripwire from Rhyme has to be taken out there. And as that spike takes down, here comes the rest of NIP to push onto the site.
Eccles gonna get one. There's a trade coming in for NIP as Kriya picks off another. They continue to try to get back onto this site. The spike is down. Solkas is going to use that shock dart. That'll actually take out the diffuser, and a quick shot as well coming in on that last target. SFISH123. It looked a little scary there for them, but the shock dart combined with the quick shot coming out of the rifle for Solkas will produce success for them as they switch on over to the defense.
We've seen this before, though. SFISH123 win the defensive side, NIP win the attacker side, but it was SFISH123 that were able to keep their dreams alive by denying NIP that attacker side OT match, and so this may be their opportunity to really close things out. As we now see NIP prepare for their take, or at least their feelers early. A great spread out from them to see who is where, when, and how. On the opposite side for SFISH123, an aggressive look towards long. They won't find anyone as there's a smoke in their way, so they'll just back away. Now reposition towards the catwalk. Eccles and Scream have a great crossfire set up, and little do they know, there's a herd of NIP that are about to come through. Lucker leading with the op. As he's about to find out that there's Scream on the opposite side. One shot's good. It's a quick trade, though, and Eccles now has them all paranoid, and it will spray down, finding two. A crucial frag, a crucial series of frags for him to find, and just like that, snap your fingers. It is SFISH123 that keep their dream alive, and they will move on to the grand final.